Previously in this web series, it was mentioned what cool things you could do if you drop support for Internet Explorer. One of those features was recently added to Photics.com. It's collapsible boxes for a frequently asked questions page. This is accomplished with just pure HTML and CSS. The Farmside guide is fairly large, and I didn't want to have really long web pages. So I remembered about the details and summary HTML tags. And since the project turned out so nice, this video shows how that was done. I'll be using Whisk from Tumult to show a side-by-side comparison. First, an HTML page is needed. Since this is just an example, I'm not even bothering with attributes. Just a simple HTML tag, a head tag, and a body tag. Here I'm putting the styling in the head tag. But on the actual project, the additional CSS was added to WordPress. Since FAQs are not common to my website, I didn't want to use yet another WordPress plugin. I'm just going to add all of the CSS right now. But, just so you can see how each part works, I'm going to intentionally break it. First, let's look at how the details and summary tags work. The details tag is the main box. The summary tag is the text that is shown to toggle the state of the main box. In other words, summary is where the question goes and details is where the answer goes. I don't like to have all that text just hanging there, so I like to put the answer in a div tag too. Basically, that's a box inside of a box, which makes it easier to add certain styling. This should be quite apparent in a moment, but for now, let's make it feel more real. Instead of a button, the summary tag is working similar to another text box. That's the purpose of this CSS. It targets all summary tags, and it adds the following styling. Now, you might not want to target all summary tags. If so, you could just add and use classes instead. The point is to change the cursor to a pointer. I'm not apologizing for that pun. And since I want the questions to stand out, I'm changing the font weight to bold. Also, since I don't want the text to be highlighted when the summary text is clicked, a user select value of none is also added. Safari is still weak in this area, so that's why WebKit is specifically mentioned. Right away, you can see how this makes a difference. Now there's a finger pointer when the cursor is hovering over the text. Of course, mobile is very popular these days, where mouse hovering is not common. That's why additional styling is needed. You knew that, of course, because the video is still going. And also, there's all of this code at the top. So what's it doing? The first part is to add a nice border. That will make the boxes look more interactive. Since my website has a dark mode, I'm using a simple gray border. That way, regardless if it's in light mode or dark mode, the border still looks nice. You could use transparency, or you could specifically target dark mode. There are lots of possibilities. The point is to show just how easy it can be to style these tags. Perhaps you want the corners to be more round, or less round. That's up to you. That's the point of styling. You get to create the look that you want. There are some generally good ideas though, like adding padding, so that the text isn't up against the border. Here I'm using CSS shorthand with only 2 values. The first number changes the top and bottom padding, and the second number changes the left and right padding. That last bit of CSS changes the bottom margin. That's the spacing between questions. So this would probably make more sense with more questions. To do that, I'm just cutting and pasting the HTML. That quickly adds another question. From there, it's just a matter of changing the text. Now you can see how the boxes work independently. But also, now you can see the spacing between the 2 boxes. Next is adding styling inside of the box. That's why the div was added. It's being used to add a nice dividing line. The general idea is that you can style the content inside of the box too. The boxes look a lot better than before, and all that was done was add a few lines of CSS. Watch out for collisions though, that's this next part. You might not need it, but I adjusted the bottom margin of the last paragraph tag, but only when it's inside a details tag. This is to change previous styling on my website. But what you might want to add is the highlighting. By being very specific with your CSS targeting, you can add a hover effect. If the details box is not open, then change the background color on hover. It might not be so apparent, but if you use the developer tools, you can see how an open attribute is added to an open details box. That means you can style the box during such conditions if you target that attribute. The result is a cool mouse over effect. No plugins, not even JavaScript. It's just pure HTML and CSS. Nice.